Good morning again. In today's video on religious systems, we're going to be talking about a very critical aspect of any religious system to maintain its longevity throughout the years and throughout the hundreds and hundreds of years, which is that of the priesthood. The priesthood is what initially evolved back in the indigenous times when religion and shamanism first started to evolve and emerge. And religion uses this system nowadays to continue and protect and to advance the goals of the system and not the goals of you, the individuals. So let's dig into this. Back in the indigenous days, they had shamans, they had medicinal herbs and hallucinogenic qualities. And they would perform rituals to help you commune with the spirits. The shamans knew the rituals. They knew the procedures. They're still alive and well today and down in Mexico. Go out down there and do an ayahuasca, and you will find and encounter modern day shamans who know the rituals. They know the practices. They know the do's and the don'ts about the herb, the tree, the vine. I think it is. I think it's a vine. Anyways, point is, these shamans, these mystics, they would contain and remember generationally the stories passed down and entrusted to them, and they would pass it on to the next generation. And this is a very critical function for a society, for cultures. It is a byproduct. If you can pass down a lineage of memory and the do's and don'ts and whys and the spirits and the stories therein, well, you now have an unbroken lineage within your culture. Your culture is cohesive, more so at least than it would be without these stories, without this lineage, this tradition. You can start seeing some of the words I'm using, tradition, right? And you can fast forward this into Egyptian times, into Sumerian times, into Vedic religions. They all share the same sort of culture, sort of same pattern. Though the Egyptians had their hieroglyphics, they didn't have a writing system, but there still was a priesthood. There still was a learned class. Same thing with the Vedic. I like this one as an example because at least in the Vedic times, you had the Brahmins who were the shamans, right? You had the Brahmins who would have the stories. They would contain the memories and pass down and teach the regular everyday person the truths of the religions of their Vedic, scriptures. And then at some point, you started actually developing a writing system where all this stuff would be written down. And then you can now teach more Brahmins. And now you can teach, you have a corpus of texts that form the body of your beliefs. So we start seeing the function of priesthood at this time, where you take a limited set of core texts and you need to get the truth out. You need to disseminate amongst your culture what you believe. And you have to teach it. So you do need a couple of people who are trained on that and can disseminate that. Part of the problem, though, when you have a system that optimizes for a few learned people teaching the many, somewhere along the line, responsibility gets lost. In the very beginning, it's harder to take responsibility unless you submit yourself to that process of becoming a Brahmin or becoming a shaman and going through the many, many hard years of trial and error and of learning and just putting in the time. Oops, a little technical hiccup there. But as I was saying, it's harder to take responsibility in the very beginning because, well, it wasn't a large access to the text, to the knowledge, and the priesthood was insular in that sense, in the sense that it was protected, and really only a few could enter it. You had to be chosen, or you had to be part of the families. That said, now this is just a byproduct. I don't think this was an intention. At some point, it became an intention. At some point, the priesthood was seen as a position of power and a system, a position to where by which the religion itself, the system itself, was able to continue and propagate. The priest became less of the teachers and purveyors of truth and sharing the good news and sharing the word about the gods and the practices and the spirits and your responsibility in communing with them. And each one of these have their own traditions and their own roles. And it became more about protecting the system and ensuring that it continued forward, ensuring its longevity. And personal responsibility got lost in the mix, meaning this: if I am searching for truth and I am an adherent to any of these bodies of knowledge or any of these philosophies or religions, who can I go to in those times? And even today, who can I go to, or who should I go to learn the truth? Well, you have the priest. And I'm going to speak from a Christianity point of view, mainly because I grew up in Christian churches. I've played around with a few denominations. So I can speak a lot better from that angle. This is not a ding on Christianity. This is not a critique of Christianity. This is not a critique of any religion. This is a critique of the systems and the things we lose by adopting the systems. If I want truth and I start asking harder questions, who do I have to talk to? Well, I'm referred to the pastor. I'm referred to a member of the church, someone who's been to Bible college, someone who knows Greek and Aramaic and Jewish. Was it? Forget it. Anyways, the point is, you go to someone who is a hell of a lot more knowledgeable than you. Generally, those are in the priest category. And they have all the answers for why your questions are wrong, or you're not believing what they are telling you you should believe. Carry on. So that personal responsibility is basically, you believe what we tell you to believe. You believe what the priest, like, they tell you what to believe, they tell you why to believe, they tell you what happens if you don't believe. Okay? They have a couple of tools in their pocket to take away your personal responsibility. And for one reason or another, cultures and societies around the world, because these religions have optimized for social cohesion, that's why you see a lot of adherence to these religions still today. But here's a fun fact. With all these religions, each one, anyone you can name right now, if you were a contemporary of the times in which these religions came about, the first seeds of these religions, they were no different than cults today. They were no different than your Scientology. They were no different than your Latter-day Saints. They were no different than whatever. And you would not be wrong or shunned for casting them aside, for doubting their beliefs, for calling them crazy, and, hey, hell, persecuting them and killing some. Every religion has started off as a foundling cult. The only reason why we have them here today, thousands of years later, is largely because of the priesthood, largely because a group of people came together and codified text, codified what is right, what is not right, what is true, what is not true. Started drawing lines in sands. And then they started separating. Well, only a few can hold this. We can't trust all of this to the people. It'll get out of hand. We start having weird denominations and Gnosticism. But if you go back, if you truly hold on to these scriptures as a Christian, if you go back to Jesus, back in Mark, he is saying to his disciples, okay, go out now and you do the same things I do. Go out and do the same things and teach, heal, feed anyone you come across. Go into these villages, and if they don't accept you, well, forget them. But go to the ones who accept you and take care of them. Teach them, heal them, feed them. Do exactly what I do. There was no separation between him and them at that moment. There was no separation. Today there is. And that's what we've lost. We've lost the ability to take on the journey for ourselves. We've lost this responsibility as a result of optimizing for social cohesions through systematic religious approaches. And we've lost the ability to remember who we are, remember what we are, remember what power we have, and we lay it all at the feet of the system. The system will tell me what to do. The system will tell me why to do it. The system will tell me what to believe, how to believe, all this good stuff. I don't have to think for myself. And that is a very, very scary place to be. So with that critique, I will say I enjoy the original text of Buddhism because Buddha, the first Buddha, now I'm not a Buddhist, but in my research, it is seen that he encourages his followers, his disciples, the people who listen to him, that don't just listen to his authority. Don't just listen to him because it's him. Go out and make it true for you. And this is my same message to you. Go out and make what you believe true to you. And with that, we'll close off. We have a couple more videos in this series. One of the ones I'm really interested in is talking about the tools that the religious systems use to keep you locked in. Now, this is going to upset people. This entire series might upset people and ruffle some feathers. But I'm talking not about religions specifically or singling them out, but I am talking about the systems leverage certain social and psychological tools against you for the purpose of keeping you inside the circle. So we'll talk about that probably either tomorrow or the next day. We got to do some work on this video coming out Friday. So until then, until later, take care. Hit the like and subscribe button. Do drop me a comment. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the value of priest? Do they serve a role or function today? Or is this something that you can see yourself, this journey of connecting with God, whatever version of God you believe in, that this is something that you can take on for yourself? And if so, what, if not, what prevents you? And if so, I would like to hear more about that too. Y'all take care.